Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's not been a great weekend, has it? It's been just down and then a massive capitulation down to the downside. We've seen Bitcoin dominance absolutely skyrocket, USDT dominance skyrocket, and the altcoins have just been absolutely destroyed, especially the meme coins as well. So this has been like a massive capitulation. To me, this has been worse than the FTX, and maybe to a point it's worse than what happened in the March the 20th in the COVID. Absolutely capitulation all over on the altcoins. But is this like an opportunity to buy the dip, or is there more to go in terms of downside? And I'll get into that in just a little while. I'll also be talking about Bitcoin, CRO, Bitcoin dominance, and where we're going to go from here. So before I start, hit that like button, give a subscribe. Your support is always much appreciated. When you look at the chart and the bubbles on the monthly, it absolutely looked really bad. 68%, 70% down, 40% down, 30% down. It's a bloodbath. It is a bloodbath. You look at your portfolio and you're thinking, oh my. You don't even want to look at your portfolio, to be honest with you. But is this like, are we bottoming out now? Or is there potentially more to go for the altcoins in terms of dropping down to the downside? And I'll get into that in just a little bit. But on the hourly at the moment, we're having a little bit of a move towards the upside. Now, is this a dead cat bounce? Is this going to be a dead cat bounce? And later on this afternoon, when the US Open, is this going to be another flush out towards the downside? And this is where that same old rule comes out. You know, you always take profits as we're moving up. When everybody's hyper, everybody's excited, you take profits. And when everybody's really scared, fearful, anxious, that's where you start buying the dip. So could this be buying a dip opportunity? It could be. But like I said, we can have a look at stock markets as well. Stock market closed off on Friday, absolutely down to the downside. And we can basically see what is happening on the crypto market. The crypto market saw its largest liquidation event of 2025, with 2.2 billion wiped out from the derivatives market. Trump's new tariff sparked a panic sell-off, erasing 400 billion from the crypto market. Over 700,000 traders were liquidated in a rapid cascading market crash. And this is what I say in most videos. When it comes to leverage, you have to be very, very careful. If you do leverage, do low leverage. Don't go big. Don't put life savings in. A lot of people have done that. Put life savings into leverage, thinking they're going to be millionaires overnight. Now they're finding out they've got no money left. So you always got to bear that in mind. I never leverage trade. I spot trade and I hold long term. That's all I do. I never touch leverage, never. And I know you see some of these big influencers in the X on crypto who are on $1 million, $2 million dollar trades. You know, that's a very small few. You just got to bear that in mind. But like I said, we've had the tariffs come out. Donald Trump, the president, did say in his election that he will be putting in tariffs. And he is doing what he said. So it's not like new news at all. We all knew this was coming out. And we know now we've got tariffs coming at 25% to Canada and also 25% to Mexico and 10% to China. So what that's basically meaning is when it comes to tax imposed by the government, the country or by the basically superannuation of the union basically is import and export goods. Besides being source of revenue for the government, important duties can also be a form of regulatory and foreign trade and policy that taxes foreign products. And basically, what this is going to be causing, potentially, could be causing a trade war. Because what will happen now is, will Canada and will Mexico and China put up tariffs towards the United States of America? So what we can see here, it says here, how Trump's tariffs aim to wreck the ball of the economy of the Americas. So obviously what he's doing now is, and obviously a lot of these countries may counter, and now we're not too sure what's going to happen with Europe. Potentially they might get that 25% as well in terms of tariffs. But at the moment for the UK, where I am at the moment, it looks like we sort of got out of it at the moment. But obviously with Donald Trump, he can be very unpredictable, and this might come to the UK. But obviously at the moment, it looks like Europe's going to get it. We know like South America's getting it and also Canada as well. But this is going to cause a trade war. And what's happening is in Canada, this may well in the automobile sector, they may stop production there at the moment. Next week, they may stop. So it's all depending what's going to happen in the coming days as well. So we've got all that coming out. And what the markets don't like uncertainty. And this is where I'm thinking we could dump down a little bit further in the markets today. So we just got to bear that in mind. We might have found a bit of a local bottom, but there's downside later on when the US opens. So we just got to bear that in mind. So we've got to keep an eye out on what's happening with these tariffs, because obviously it's going to impact the stock markets and impact crypto as well. So what we've seen is at the moment, while this is all happening, we've got retail which are actually selling. And basically what's happening is we've got the new and old whales are actually accumulating. So as we've got retail panic selling, we have got the whales actually, believe it or not, are buying. They are buying. They're buying on the fear of the retail. And that's what's happening. And guess what? I'm not a whale particularly, like some of these big whales, but I have accumulated when we had that big drop down. When we really, really dropped down, I bought some. Because Bitcoin at the moment, while we've seen a lot of the altcoins through this tariffs, what's happening, and manipulation, what's also been happening, is basically Bitcoin isn't doing too bad at all. It's sitting at $95,000. Now, we know back in the 13th of January, we whipped all the way down to $89,000. Now, what's happening is we've just been in this range bound. Nothing's really been happening, just range bounded. Yes, we did wick down to around about 91,000, and hence why we saw this big capitulation from the altcoins. But we're retesting this area of support down here at $90,000 again. It got bought up by long traders down here. So now we've actually bought up down here and we've moved back towards the upside. So obviously we could come back down depending what happens today. But basically a lot of range bound for actually Bitcoin at the moment. And what's happening is we're just above that 50 EMA. So what Bitcoin really needs to do, we're well above the 200. That's not a worry at the moment. But the worry is if we keep on going down further, we've got this big gap here, which is occurring. So, but obviously at the moment, the bulls have stepped in, bought up here, and we move towards the upside. So we've just got to get above that 50 EMA for continuation to the upside. But what I am watching out for, particularly for the altcoins, is Bitcoin dominance. But what I have noticed as well is on Bitcoin dominance, we've hit it back here down in, it was around about 2017. We topped out on Bitcoin dominance and moved significantly down towards the downside, hence this red. Again, we hit this pivotal point here again, and then we dropped down. So at the moment, we've got higher high and higher lows at the moment. So we've come to these points. And again, what's happened is we've come to this point here. Now, is this going to be an area where Bitcoin dominance actually crashes down to the downside, maybe after today, after see what happens on the US Open? If the US Open and we do capitulate down to further down to the downside in terms of the stock markets, maybe we might find a bottom, just like we did in COVID, and we drop down to the downside, and then dominance drops also. Because if we look a bit closer on this, to find it, if we zoom in to a little bit further here, if we zoom in, we can see right now we've actually hit that target line, just like we did on the previous ones here. Look at that, we hit the target line, dropped down to the downside, and potentially are we doing that again? So obviously, if altcoins drop even further and Bitcoin stabilizes, then obviously dominance could keep on rising. But at the moment, we've hit that area of resistance. So there's obviously a chance now we could actually start dropping down towards the downside. But what I am watching for as well is zooming out, is watching the USDD dominance as well. Because look what's happened there. We actually went towards the upside, and that is why we got that big sell-off in terms of the alts as well. So what I am watching for is, what I don't want to see is to us to start to climb back up towards the upside, because that is not going to be good for the altcoins. We want to see us, the USDT dominance, drop down to the downside like we did here, drop down to the downside. So at the moment, we're coming up to an area of resistance there. We plummeted down. Now we're coming up to support here. So now this is the question that's going to happen now. Does the USDT dominance rise towards the upside with Bitcoin dominance? That is not going to be good for the altcoins. So we've just got to bear that in mind. And then we've got also what's happening is we've got the total market cap of total 3, excluding Ethereum and Bitcoin. This is just the altcoins on their own. And we came this descending wedge, sort of a descending wedge really, but we dropped down to the downside. We found this area of support around about here, which we found support back in December of the 20th, 2024. And now we've come down, retested it again. Now, what do? Do we come back down towards the downside and close up that wick and make our way back up? Or do we cascade down further down to the downside? So we've just got to bear that in mind. There's always that risk. But the risk also, on the positive thought, dominance could drop down, USDT dominance could drop down, and we could start grinding back up towards the upside. And this could be the flush that we wanted for a lot of leverage out there as well. But looking at CRO as well, look at CRO. Massive falling wedge, as I mentioned in every video, and something had to give. I said it on Saturday, something has to give. And unfortunately, it was down to the downside. Look at that, massive cascade down to the downside. We whipped down below 0.10, all the way down to 0.08. Now, if you had buy orders down here, that is a good buy in my potential. So if people had buy orders, which they did, it wicked straight back towards the upside. So all eyes are on today, what's happened in stock markets, but CRO wicked all the way down there. So if you bought down here, congratulations to you, because you really did, and then it wicked straight back up. So, you know, that was a good buying. But like I said, we've just got to keep an eye out what's happening today. What's going to happen to the altcoins in the coming days and the coming weeks? That's the big question at the moment. I did buy down here. I didn't get all the way down here. I did buy down here this morning. I had a big buy order, and then obviously it's come back up. So obviously now I'm waiting to see what happens. If we do come back down, I will buy down a little bit more. This is a lesson learned to everybody as well. You should always have a diverse portfolio. Bitcoin and whatever else you have. I've got a bit into the stock markets. I've got a bit in I've got stable coins to buy the dips. I've also got a portfolio of my XRP and Solanas as well. And that's what I say. Don't always go into one coin. Have a diverse portfolio. Have a risk plan as well, where you're going to sell, where you're going to take profits. And I say it in most videos. You've got to do that. And when people say to me that I'm always bullish, yeah, long term, I am bullish, but I also know corrections come and crashes could come at any point in time. And this, for me, this was a bit of a crash as well. But also, a part of this, actually, from Marty Party, was saying everything is playing out as it always does, every cycle. Binance flushes out, max pain before markup. And look what's happened, February 2027. Alts dropped, pumped towards the upside. Same thing in 2021. Alts dropped down to the downside, pumped to the upside, and look what's happening again, February of 2025. We're doing the same. So is this an opportunity to DCA into some more of your altcoins? Potentially it could be. There is risk down to the downside even further. So I'm not going all in buying. I'm scattering it all out. So if we do drop down a little bit more, I'm buying a little bit. But I think at the moment, this could be close towards bottom, but nobody knows where the bottom is. We could go down a little bit more. So I'm just being very, very cautious in what's happening at the moment. So if we do drop down, I will buy a little bit more as well. But I don't know if you can remember, back in 2021, I certainly can. And I can remember the same stories happening. It was tweeted out here by the House of Crypto. People were saying here, no alt season. This was January the 2nd of 2020. No alt season. This time, it's so dumped the garbage why you still can. December 27, 2020, this is no alt season. 2021, dead cat bounce for alts. Alts are going to die and there will be no alt season. It seems like there will be no alt season this year, only Bitcoin season, January 2021. January 2nd, 21. Again, Bitcoin has doubled in price. No alt season. Maybe alt season is a myth. And you can read all of these here, what's happening. And that is why you're going to have a plan. Are you going to be buying a dip? Is this the dip for you to buy? Or are you just going to sit on your hands? Or are you going to sell? For me personally, I'm a bit of both. A bit of holding, a bit of buying a dip. It's up to you what you want to do. But obviously, there's a lot of panic. And I take Warren Buffett's side. You know, when there's blood on the streets and when people are panicking and it looks like a sale, they're buying. And I've been buying in this bit of a dip that we've had. We could dip even further and I'll buy some more. But obviously, you know, everybody's very different financially. So you've got to be prepared for that as well. So I hope that's been useful. Take care today. Be careful of the US Open. Anything can happen. So smash that like button, give subscribe. Your support is always much appreciated. And I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.